Hey, I'm Serenity and welcome to my kitchen. Welcome to another vintage style heart cake. Today we are making a all gold cake inspired by Leo season. So we're going to be painting the cake gold. I will say before we get into it, I totally forgot to film like the first half of this before we painted the cake gold, because this cake has actually been two things. It was a F1 cake and now it is gold. So I forgot to film it this way, but I did film it this way, so I'll put it on the screen for you to watch. I debated if I still wanted to post this video, but since this is a cool hack, I thought it'd be informative, and all the other things you need to know about heart cakes I posted already in other videos on how to make your cake, stack, crumb coat, top coat, all that. So that is out there if you want to see that. It's on my page. I have short form decorating videos and then a couple long form, but this is a cool hack that I decided to share. So this is our gold cake. Now she isn't perfect. I did use black icing, and you really should use more of a white icing or closer to the color you're coloring it, because you need to get in all the nooks and crannies. But I was using old buttercream that literally was about to go bad, so I think it gives like a gilded vintage sort of look, which I think is perfect for Leos. Save it. Let's decorate this cake together.
To make the cake, you're going to need something with ethanol in it, which is like a derivative of alcohol. So you can either use lemon extract or pure vodka, and you're just going to mix this with an edible luster dust until it creates this kind of watery kind of paint liquid texture. So we're going to start by painting the chocolate letters I made, and I'm using, this is actually a e.l.f. eyeshadow brush that I've only ever used for cake decorating. I'm going to paint those. So the cake is crumb coated stacked. It's ready to be piped. I'm going to do a layer of paint using this. It's actually another makeup brush that I've only used for painting. I'm gonna just paint the cake, just a thin layer. It's not perfect, it's kind of streaky, but we're gonna fix it. And do as I say, not as I do, okay? Because use a color of buttercream very close to your cake color you're gonna be painting it. I was using leftover black buttercream that literally smelled like it was gonna go bad in a week. That way I didn't waste ingredients. But please, please, please use something like a yellow buttercream or a white buttercream if you're gonna paint a cake gold. If you're doing a silver cake, use a white buttercream, a grayish buttercream, that sort of thing. Starting with a 21 shell tip, I'm doing this thin border around the outside of the cake, and then I'm going in with my favorite 6B shell tip to do the larger shell on the top and bottom borders. Next, I'm going to go in with a 16 tip and do just under like the top of the cake. I call this the lid of the cake. These are all shell piping tips. They're my favorite type. And I'm also going to do one more layer border on the inner part of the heart to give it some nice dimension. And I was really loving how the black on gold was looking. It was giving great Gatsby. Then I'm going to use that same 21 medium shell tip to layer on top of the bottom border and finish it with the 16 tip right on top of that to give it more dimension. I will say I was having trouble getting the buttercream to stick to the cake because the paint wasn't dry all the way. I left it in the freezer for about 30 minutes and it still wasn't drying. So mix that with the cold cake, kind of like a wet paint on top, and then room temp buttercream. It wasn't doing me any favors. Anyways, so for the swoop squiggles vintage piping, I'm using a cleaned like Polar Pop lid, soda lid, you know, that you get at the gas station. I cut it less than halfway and I'm just imprinting it into the cake all the way around. That way you get nice and even swoops. And from here, using that imprint, I'm going to also trace it with just a simple toothpick. And I want these kind of to overlap just slightly. We're going in with my favorite ruffle tip, the 70 tip from Hobby Lobby, and you just go, you pull and then you go over what you pulled. So pull back up to get this nice ruffle. Now I was having trouble with my buttercream. It was getting stuck in the nozzle, and when that happens, literally just wipe off the cake. You're gonna hide your mistakes and start again. So I use a spatula to do that. Next, I'm going in with that 21 shell tip right on top of this for my second line of swoops. I'm connecting all of the swoops. They are touching, so it is a constant droop. And then at this point I was like, is it giving Charlie Brown? It might be. Anyways, following this, we're gonna go in with a third piping tip. This is just a little dot piping tip. It is the number 3 from Wilton. I'm just doing little dots and pulling them so they create kind of like a balloon shape near the end, so it's bigger on the top and then it tapers out to a point, going all the way around the cake with this. And I actually wrap my piping bag around my hand, so I'm pressing between my pinky and my fourth finger, as you can see. Finally, I'm going to go in with that 16 really small shell tip and go in between the ruffles at the bottom layer to give just a little bit more dimension. And with this one, I am piping the same way, but this time I'm just piping using my thumb and my second finger. I hold the piping bag really weird, but that's because with these smaller tips, you need pressure at a different angle. For the connecting little parts that connect all the swoops together, I'm using the 16 tip again. And now it is time to paint the cake. So at first, I was going to try to spray the cake. So I put the liquid paint we made back into the bottle and then fitted it with a spray lid. I couldn't find the bottle to that spray lid. It was like one of those travel spray bottles, but it wasn't working. It was going everywhere. It wasn't getting in the nooks and crannies. So I went back in with my paintbrush and painted the cake. Now, since the cake was cold, it was kind of mixing with the paint and becoming like this darker copper color. And you can see it was dripping because it wasn't as thick as it needed. I'll be so honest. I went through 3 luster dust containers to do this. I was in the trenches, but in the end, I let it chill in the freezer for about 45 minutes so the paint could dry and the alcohol evaporates out. Finally, we're going in with the letters I made. So I wasn't liking the way the original letters came out. They didn't dry right. They were too light for the cake. So I dipped them in some edible gold glitter after painting them with edible glue. Now this glitter had some silver in it that I didn't appreciate, but I think overall the cake turned out pretty good. Not great, but definitely room for improvement. And you know, we all start somewhere. But I will say by the end of this, I wanted to see this cake in the trash. Okay, I had been working on it for 3 days. No one was gonna eat it because it was drenched in alcohol, and also it was a zombie cake, so it was not edible. It had been in the freezer for a week from the first version of this cake that I had shown earlier.
And that is our completed cake. Let me know your thoughts on it. It's definitely not my favorite cake, mostly because I was having a real struggle painting that damn cake. But again, I like to post these videos to show the errors of my ways because I'm not a professional, but I do decorate a lot of heart cakes. So for someone who's never decorated a cake in their life, maybe they can learn from me. It's never going to be perfect. But yeah, all my socials are linked down below if you want to follow me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I have a lot of fun desserts I'm making for fall season. I am a fall baby myself, so I'm very excited for Hispanic Heritage Month as someone who is half Mexican, and for all the spooky desserts I have planned. So as always, the doggo picture of the day is going to be this picture of Nova. She loves a good nap. Alright, love you, Mina, kisses, jump to links, stupid. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why